This presentation of the National Thoroughbred Racing Association continues on ESPN2.
Here at Belmont, Funnyside has a chance to get his own placard. This isn't perfectly chronological because in between there should be Seattle Slew, correct? Secretary of Seattle Slew, then affirmed.
But those would be, if you put Seattle Slew in the middle, the last 3 Triple Crown winners.
It makes me feel nostalgic. For the Long John Silver memory.
This could be the gold memory, the platinum memory. June 9th, 1973, Belmont Park, the immortal Secretariat goes for racing history, and what a race it was.
Secretariat leads his field by 18 lengths, and now Price Approved is taken second, and Mike Gallant is moved back to third. They're in the set. Secretariat has opened a 22-length lead. He is going to be the Triple Crown winner. Here comes Secretariat to the wire. An unbelievable, an amazing performance.
I have often said that Secretariat was moving like a tremendous machine. Final margin of victory, 31 lengths. Perhaps the greatest horse in thoroughbred racing history.
I don't think we get a 31-length win this time. But what is interesting, it was pointed out in the New York Times, I believe, that the fields, how small they are when a Triple Crown is successful, bigger when they're not successful. I mean, that goes without saying that fewer opponents.
Well, it just as a rule of thumb and generality in horse racing, when you have a really short field, it's typically one horse that's a heavy favorite, and not many other horses or trainers and owners want to jump in and run against that horse. Secretary was a pretty good example, although Sham was in that race as well. This year's Belmont is not really that doesn't apply because you've got 4 solid horses.
Not many in numbers, but very good in quality.
Yeah.
Let's meet them individually. You know them by now, but we just want to reacquaint you with them in case you've forgotten them and weren't paying attention or some other terrible thing happened. Empire Maker, sort of like vindication time for Empire Maker. You've heard Jerry Bailey. He's as confident about this animal as he has sounded about any that I've ever heard.
Did not run, of course, between the Kentucky Derby and the Belmont Stakes, which has been quite a conversation topic recently. There he is winning the Florida Derby, much as Funnyside won the Preakness Stakes. Key question, I think, is how close he's going to be to Funnyside early.
You know about horses who run with blinkers. Supervisor might consider a blindfold.
Supervisor is a huge long shot. He's only 2 for 15 lifetime. He's only made $118,000 as opposed to $1.28 million for Empire Maker. He will be probably close to 100 to 1, I would guess.
It comes with box seats, though. You never know. I mean, with only 6 in there, something goes crazy and they burn each other out. Scrimshaw. This is an interesting one to me. Dwayne Lucas, he's done it to us before. Commendable. I barely knew Commendable was in that race. Bumped into Beverly Lewis in the paddock. Wins the race.
And Commendable went wire to wire in his Belmont win. That's probably the strategy that Lucas is going to try to employ with Gary Stevens aboard Scrimshaw. It didn't work in the Preakness. He went out early. Funnyside tracked him and then blew him away.
Funnyside trying to complete the deal. Jose Santos up on this one. You can't knock him. There's nothing about him that you can put down and say anything's a fluke. He may very well win. It's not surprising whatsoever if he finishes the deal.
He looks like a 1.5 mile horse. He's got a perfect running style for the Belmont Stakes. If he avoids a speed duel, if he avoids Jose Santos battling with him during the early stages of the race, he's got a great shot.
People have been nuts for Dynevor. The big move that it made in the Lone Star Derby was impressive. You look at races, not just what's on paper, you know, what's in the black and white, but how it was won.
Yeah, speed figure-wise, he doesn't jump off the page at all. But when you see races like this, the Lone Star Derby, where he's trapped, and then he finally gets out with Edgar Prado and shows tremendous acceleration, you understand that this horse is more than the figures may show on paper, and he's bred to get 1.5 miles without any trouble.
What Dynevor is to the Belmont 10 Most Wanted was to the Derby, right? I mean, sort of the late bloomer that the supposed smart people were going nuts for.
He was the hot horse. There he is with trainer Wally DeLacy on a typically rainy, this week at least, Belmont morning. He was 6 to 1 in the Derby, finished 9th, but he had some excuses. Hasn't run since then, but just as DeLacy was confident before the Derby, he's also confident this horse is going to bounce back for the Belmont.
All right, here's how it's gone so far. Only 14,000. Only Hank Goldberg has bet so far. Empire Maker, morning line of 6 to 5, has gone 15 to 1. Apparently, these are the people that wanted the souvenir tickets or something because we got Funnyside at 1 to 9.
And this small pool only applies here to Belmont Park, and I'm assuming to the New York City off-track betting. So it's a very small pool, not even a national pool yet, and we don't have to say, obviously, that those odds are going to change dramatically. It's just a whole fun time.
Just a bit ago, for the 103rd time, they ran the 5 furlong flash stakes. 2-year-olds very small field, but a very good field, and also a race that has produced many very fine horses down the road.
It's got a long history. As a matter of fact, it's only 2 years younger than the Belmont Stakes. Its first running, 1869. 2 Triple Crown winners.
But they took a break. That's why it's only the 103rd
Exactly. They took a long break, actually, from 71 to 81. And then another break from 82 to 99.
And it bothered you they did, because you were rather choked up about the whole thing. Let's check out this field. There was a heavy favorite. 1.1 to 9 on the board was Chapel Royal. Corsicat, its entry mate, scratched earlier in the day, as did Exploit Lad. So for all the things this race had going for it, only 4 animals ended up going to the post.
And you see Hassle Free, number 3, ridden by Jerry Bailey at 5 to 2. Man, I am choked up.
This is too much for Randy to carry on. He kind of like Hassle Free. He's touting that one a lot as able to beat Chapel Royal. Let's find out how it went. Tom Durkin called this race.
Right. And they're off. Chapel Royal gets out there first. Hassle Free is away second on the inside. Mighty Awesome and Juventus outsprinted as they race into the first turn. And it's Chapel Royal going head-to-head here with Hassle Free. Hassle Free on the inside, Chapel Royal on the outside. There's nothing between them. The two of them have pulled away from Mighty Awesome by 7 lengths already. And Juventus is fourth as they make their way toward the top of the stretch. It's still Hassle Free and Chapel Royal, the two of them full throttle as they turn for home. A big break back to the other two, Juventus and Mighty Awesome. And as they come off to turn, it's Chapel Royal who's taken the lead. Chapel Royal in front by neck. Hassle Free fights on, but is now given way. A length and a half behind Chapel Royal, who rolls past the 8th pole by 2 widening lengths. Hassle Free second by another 6, and Juventus third. And they're coming down to the finish. A good-looking effort here by Chapel Royal, winning it decisively by 4 lengths over Hassle Free. Juventus checked in third. The final time, 57 flat.
John Velazquez, Todd Pletcher, the trainer on that one. We opened the show by showing you that $200 winner. This gets things back more to reality. Yes. $2.60 in a 4-horse field.
Just the opposite. Chapel Royal, trained by Todd Pletcher, who also won this race in '99 with a horse called More Than Ready. There's going to be a lot of comparisons. They both went 57 flat. More Than Ready went on, of course, after the Flash to win a series of stakes races. And Chapel Royal looks like he might be just as promising.
All right, 2 races down, 2 races to go, and still all sorts of Belmont news as we get going here from Belmont Park. Stay around. We're coming back with live racing right after this break. Chance, do you know?
Yeah, I do, with Jose Santos aboard. Twilight's Prayer hasn't started since October, the 22nd of last fall at the Meadowlands. But when we last saw her, this mare was running very well. As a matter of fact, she's won 3 of her last 4 starts. Her speed figures say that she might be good enough to compete with these if she comes back at her best.
And going back further than that, she did come back off a distinct layoff and came back with the higher Bayer figure, which you're big on.
In her last start, she handled a yielding course at the Meadowlands, which is not a whole lot different than a soft turf course. So I think she has a shot. She's 9-1.
Hank, do you want to complete a superfecta or anything? Because we've loaded up on 3 already.
I'm too far behind.
We just don't want to give it to Durkin yet. Last time, he had to call in like 11 horses into the gate. We kind of mistimed the whole thing.
The horse that Hank was talking about, Float and Sting, competed against Born Something just in her last start at Gulfstream Park on April the 5th. And on that day, Born Something beat her, but only by 2 lengths. And if, as Hank suggests, the soft footing might help Float and Sting, then you would think that maybe she might be able to turn that around. And of course, the Mott-Bailey combination is not too shabby either.
I don't think mention was made yet. This is at 7 furlongs on the turf. Kind of an unusual distance on turf. You see it oftentimes on the dirt. You'll see 5 furlongs on the turf. Then they all of a sudden jump up to a mile, but rarely do you see it this way.
This is about the only track in the country where you can actually run a 7 furlong race on the turf and have it be a 1-turn race, just like you would see on the main track on dirt. And that certainly makes this a little unusual.
Tom, why was this track built so big? Was there a reason behind it?
Yeah, actually, they wanted to make it more like a European course. It opened up in 1905, and they wanted it to be big and expansive so that the horses could race on a track that didn't have any biases. And that's why the Belmont, if the Belmont were run at Churchill Downs or at Pimlico, you'd have to run 1.5 miles around 3 turns. So it kind of takes away a lot of that racing luck factor. They used to have a chute here at Belmont Park. It was called the Widener Chute. It was 1 mile straight. And
a big water slide at the end? Or?
No, not a big water slide. But there was a finish line at the end. Just waiting for Magnificent Val, Perfect Energy, and Float and Sting. But it started way, way out, and it was just one stripe that just came right down the middle of the infield. In fact, they landed airplanes in here to deliver the mail. They used it as a runway. It was so big.
Wow, utilitarian. Just to mess with the audience, why don't you call some bingo numbers right now before they all load in, just to see if they're paying attention. How many we got left?
12, F13.
There is no F in bingo. Come on. My grandma used to play it. Used to bite the fat on her arms, too. All right, load them up.
In the gate. My mother, by the way, is a very good bingo player. Don't knock the bingo game.
Did that get out?
Buys 3 or 4 cards at one time. And they're off. On the outside, Perfect Energy is breaking for the early lead and down toward the rail. There goes Countess Mark up and after it, and Prime Queen is right there alongside her. So it's Countess Mark short lead, Prime Queen alongside, running in second. Goosey Gander is now third, Perfect Energy. Races in fourth. I Met Somebody between horses fifth, Float and Sting in the clear, and racing sixth. And Dynamic Lady shuffled back to seventh. Born Something is eighth, about 8 or 9 lengths from the lead. Then farther back, it's Bail Bond now running in ninth. Lojo, 10th on the outside. Twilight's Prayer struggling over the off-going here. Magnificent Val trailing the field as they hit the far turn. Countess Mark short lead. Prime Queen right there with her. The pace is solid. 22 and 3/5 seconds over the soft going here. Perfect Energy up to third on the outside. Goosey Gander is racing fourth. Float and Sting well within striking range with 3 furlongs to go. Only about 4 lengths from the front runners now. I Met Somebody gets caught while in behind horses. Then on the far outside, here comes Born Something with a big move. Lojo's following her as they hit the top of the lane. Born Something charging hard up and after the lead on the far outside. Lojo arriving on the scene late. I Met Somebody coming on through between horses. Prime Queen, then farther back, Bail Bond. 100 yards from home. Born Something, heavy left hand. Edgar Prado still holding on to that lead. And Born Something just would not let Lojo pass. Bail Bond finishing third. So Born Something is under the wire first. Big move on the far turn. Came very wide and held off that late run from Lojo. Then Bail Bond wound up third. The final time here was B14 G609.
He's got the numbers mixed up, but I like the spirit. So Born Something, highly regarded going in, proved herself coming around the turn.
Absolutely. Now 3 wins and 5 starts in the U.S. This was the 5-year-old mare that had run against Banks Hill and horses like that in Europe, and she obviously handled the course with no problem.
Still more racing. In fact, it's our featured race, the Acorn. Plus, we got Belmont news coming up from Belmont Park. Stay around. We're coming right back. Welcome back to Belmont Park, a day before the 135th Belmont Stakes. Funny side, going after the Triple Crown. That's a beautiful paddock. Is that from the blimp, I would assume? It's got to be. Yeah. How about that blimp? It's continuing a 78-year tradition. I didn't have to say that, but we thank them for giving us blimp shots. You know, the Acorn is our featured race today. It's had big-time runners. Ruffian been in it, Gallarette, Sky Beauty. You can go on and on about all those who have won here.
11 Hall of Fame horses. 11 members of the Hall of Fame have won the Acorn, which, of course, is for 3-year-old fillies. The distance is a mile. And again, here at Belmont Park, because of the circumference of the racetrack, it's a mile around one turn, which typically plays heavily towards speed.
As Tom Durkin was saying, they build it to be big, and I think he mentioned they have bingo here also, is what he said. Let's meet these animals individually. How old are they? 3. I think Randy's been pushing hard for a Triple Crown for the females. Stormflag Flying won the Eclipse, the 2-year-old, won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile for fillies, but didn't do so much in its first start this year.
No, this was Stormflag Flying, and the juvenile fillies, you know, just very impressively fighting back and retaking the lead from Composure, but she showed none of that determination inexplicably in her comeback race, a second-place finish on April the 18th here at Aqueduct, beating 5.5 lengths.
The type of race that this is, a one-turn mile, benefits Lady Tack, correct, because of the speed?
It certainly does. Lady Tack is a tremendously fast filly. She won the first 3 starts of her career by a combined margin of 20 lengths sprinting in one-turn races. She's also a Keeneland graduate. See the Keeneland K there. This was a 1 1/16 race. You see here the Fairgrounds Oaks, but trainer Steve Asmussen says the one-turn mile should be just perfect for her. 6th in the Kentucky Oaks last time out.
The 3 is Kitty Knight, currently 28-1. Going to try Lasix for the first time, she is, but might need some other things too here.
Owned by the Bohemia stable of Hilaire DuPont, also the owner, of course, of that famous legendary horse Kelso, trained by Alan Jerkins. Jerkins has 2 horses in this race. Kitty Knight is the least accomplished of the 2, but this is Kitty Knight winning an allowance race at Aqueduct.
The 4 is Randaroo, getting great value on this thing at 16-1. Could go out, have the lead by herself. It's questionable, but if she does, she could get loose out there.
And she's going to have to bounce back from a big disappointment last time out. What a contrast. She's 16-1 today in her last start, a stakes race at Pimlico, April 13th. Her odds were 1-20, and she lost that race by a neck.
House Party is the 5, going at 5-1. Alan Jerkins has 2 in this one. Kitty Knight and House Party is the other.
House Party is the most accomplished. House Party is the gray down there on the inside, ridden on this day by Jose Santos. This was the same day that Jose Santos found out about all that controversy over the Kentucky Derby and the photo that was taken and all that. And yet that afternoon he came out and won this race, the Nassau County Breeders' Cup.
They put final round at 12-1 on the morning line. That's been painted on there. The bettors looking at this one the same way.
This is final round, winning to Lot Troy Inn on Kentucky Derby week at Churchill Downs, 2 days before the Derby. Actually, on Thursday, it was a 7-furlong race. Jerry Bailey rode her that day, but Bailey has opted to ride Lady Tack in the Acorn, so final round has picked up jockey Gary Stevens, and she is improving.
Birdtown being offered the 3-1. Birdtown had the huge upset a day before the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Oaks, 18-1, winning it for Nick Zito.
And keep in mind, when we saw the Kentucky Oaks, she stumbled badly at the start. She was 8th out of 12 at the first call because of that stumble, and that actually helped her. The pace was so fast, she was able to rally from off the pace and pick up the pieces. But she's got more speed than that, and Nick Zito, her trainer, says she'll show more speed today.
Yeah, you wonder sometimes you stumble, and literally and figuratively stumble into a new strategy if they try to apply that the next time. So Storm Flag Flying getting all sorts of support, even though she had a rough one in her first trip this year. 2nd place, but lost by 5 lengths at 0.25-1.
And we talked about a triple crown for fillies. Of course, I'm referring to the Kentucky Oaks and Black Eyed Susan and Acorn, which might Sunday happen. But there's already a triple tiara here at Belmont Park, starting this year, covering the Acorn, the Mother Goose, and the Coaching Club Oaks. And there's a $2 million bonus for that. So that certainly should be mentioned as well.
Well, you did. Storm Flag Flying seen right there. Storm Flag Flying going at 3-2. On paper, looking to be a cut above the rest. It's just whether she's back in the kind of form she was in last year.
And the guy on the gray suit in the right who just walked out of the picture is Storm Flag Flying's owner, Denny Phipps. His family has won the Acorn 8 times. Wheatley Stable, his grandmother, won it 5 times. His father, the late Ogden Phipps, won it twice. Denny himself has won it once. And there the guy in the tie and no jacket putting the saddle on, of course, is trainer Shook McGahee, who has also won the Acorn Stakes twice. So a lot of history going here.
And if you're wondering what happened to Storm Flag Flying in her first start this year, maybe Shook can explain it.
She didn't run very well that day. I mean, I'll admit that. But we did go over there. We were down on the inside, kind of got hurted a little bit by another horse. Nothing wrong, just good race riding. Speed at Aqueduct was dangerous all spring. Pretty good filly. Was good at the time. She just won a stake in cyberspace. So, you know, she just came up needing a race. But I think she's got the ability, I think she's got the class, and I think that over the long run she'll prove it.
That all makes sense, and players are backing that with 3-2 on the odds.
You know, last year's champion 2-year-old filly, and it's often been pointed out that sometimes horses don't mature that much from 2 to 3, and they come back as 3-year-olds, and perhaps they're not quite the same horses. So that's why everyone is eagerly watching the Acorn, if for no other reason than just to see exactly what Storm Flag Flying looks like today.
Birdtown, the upset winner. Churchill Downs, Nick Zito, the trainer. We're going to be talking to him when we come back on the other side of this break. We're hoping to anyway. We're efforting. Hank Goldberg knows him. The 73rd time they'll run the Acorn here at Belmont Park. Stay around, and please do watch that. Although, in the next 16 to 15 seconds, I might add that, boy, this is a big track, is it not, Randy?
8 Kentucky Oaks winners have come back to win the Acorn, and that, of course, is what Birdtown is going to try to do.
All right, Birdtown, 6 others. Storm Flag Flying the favorite. We'll come back real soon.
Town in the starting gate. We're ready for the starts. They're in the gate. And they're off. Randaroo off to an alert beginning. Birdtown's got speed today, and Birdtown's in front. Birdtown with a different gambit this afternoon. In front by a head. Randaroo on the inside second. And then it's Storm Flag Flying, who's in and among horses in the early going. Kitty Knight just to her outside. Lady Tack right there, only about 3 lengths from the lead. And then it's Final Round and House Party as they continue up the backstretch. Randaroo is matching strides with Birdtown. Storm Flag Flying drafting in behind them. On the outside, Kitty Knight in the clear. Kitty Knight now running third. Storm Flag Flying is fourth. House Party will take a run through on the inside. Lady Tack and Final Round. Around the far turn, the pace has been moderate at 23 and 2 opening quarter, but now they're picking up that tempo, and Birdtown forges to a short lead. Randaroo counters and comes right back. Randaroo, Birdtown, head-to-head. The half went in 46 and 1/5 seconds. Final Round with a sweeping move. Final Round coming up now on the far outside. In the meantime, Storm Flag Flying has dropped back to last, and they're coming to the top of the stretch. Birdtown has a short lead. Final Round to her outside. Randaroo to her inside. House Party just in behind. Lady Tack is coming with her run now, and Storm Flag Flying is toiling way behind. They're in the final furlong. Birdtown trying to hold off Lady Tack in Final Round. Birdtown digs down. Lady Tack is surging to her. They're coming down to the finish. Birdtown is tenacious as Lady Tack surges. Here's the wire. Birdtown. Defeat was not an option for her today. Very game. A nostril ahead of Lady Tack on the line and Final Round. Birdtown going out to a half in 46 and 1, 3/4 in 10 and 2, and did appear to hold off that final surge at the end by Lady Tack. A talented, versatile, and very game racehorse.
Wow, great call from Tom Durkin and a fine run from Birdtown. Looked like Lady Tack had all sorts of trouble in the race, was going to get to her, but Birdtown digging in with Edgar Prado, Nick Zito walking down here to accept.
Lady Tack appeared to be sandwiched a bit leaving the starting gate. She was steadied pretty sharply in traffic at the half-mile post. She raced in traffic all the way around the turn, but Birdtown, what a tenacious win by Birdtown. Off the pace, as we mentioned, in the Kentucky Oaks when she stumbled. This time, as Zito sort of implied to Hank Goldberg before the race, you're going to see a little more speed from her. And did she ever hold on tenaciously? And a tip of the hat to Zito, because what he did with Birdtown after the Kentucky Oaks to me is very interesting. She's a small filly, as you can see, so he improvised and he sent her from Churchill Downs up to Saratoga in upstate New York because the weather was going to be cooler up there. And as a matter of fact, the weather was in the 40s. She actually started growing a little bit of a winter coat up there, but she bounced back quickly in the cool weather and obviously sharp in the Acorn.
Lady Tack, the second horse, was coming with everything. Jerry Bailey on her. Tried to get out to the lead from the inside. Made a sweeping move to try to get up. But as you said, this one, Birdtown, winning out for the 4th time in night starts. Career earnings $648 grand. They're in the winner's enclosure right now. We'll try to come back and make this thing official. Stay around. We're at the Belmont Stakes the day before the 135th time to go a mile and a half. Come right back to wrap up the Acorn and make the race official. Birdtown's your winner in the Acorn. Welcome back to Belmont Park. There's Nick Zito, the winning trainer, with the Mary Lou Whitney. What's the story on this? Her first, her husband, before they knew each other.
I'm a total history buff. Mary Lou Whitney right now is married to a fellow named John Hendrickson. She was previously married to the late C.V. Whitney, who was a famous name in the horse racing business. C.V. Whitney won the Acorn. Get a load of this. The second running of the Acorn, 1932. 5 years before the Seabiscuit War Admiral match race, and now it's almost the same as the Kentucky Oaks. He had also won that many times, and now his wife, his former wife, Mary Lou Whitney, comes back and wins the Acorn 71 years later.
In there with Edgar Prado. Very nice ride. The race has gone official, by the way, paying $730 up front. Let's look at it again. I think we got it all the way back from the start.
Yeah, pay attention to the number 2 horse, Lady Tack, as they leave the starting gate. And let's just take a look at what happened there, because she had a very rough trip later in the race. You see she maybe tosses her head a little bit at the start. And yeah, I thought maybe she might have gotten a little sandwiched, but I think she might have just broke just a tad sluggishly, and that was about it. But you'll see Lady Tack won off the rail. That Storm Flag Flying, another inexplicably poor race for Storm Flag Flying. Now,
this is the only time Storm Flag Flying is in the race. She's going to drop an anchor going around the turn.
Exactly, and just to her outside in the white silks, number 2, Lady Tack, and you'll see right about now Jerry Bailey is going to get sandwiched and is going to have to come back out of there. I might have jumped the gun a little bit. There you go. You see Bailey kind of pull on the reins a little bit, and Lady Tack has to drop back. If she was mad and pouting going into this race, then she's probably absolutely livid right now at what happened, because she ran a huge race and finished second. To take nothing away from Birdtown, but Lady Tack perhaps might have been the best horse with the clean start.
Birdtown is to the outside. Is that Randaroo dropping back? Now Birdtown taking the lead, and Lady Tack probably ran the most distance. I mean, really covered the most race. And kind of reminds me, that's what I'm talking about, the thing we pointed out in the Derby. But coming here right now is where Prado's going to have to dig in and hold on.
Now, in Birdtown's defense, Lady Tack had a shot at Birdtown right here. But Birdtown was determined enough to hold off Lady Tack in the last 1/8 of a mile, whereas a lot of other horses wouldn't be able to. And just barely, though. You see she hits the wire at the official margin, probably a nose there.
Birdtown, the winner here. First Acorn win, both for the jockey Edgar Prado and for the trainer Nick Zito.
And our researcher Jeremy Plonk corrects me here. He says this is the 10th Kentucky Oaks winner now to go on and win the Acorn Stakes. And the majority of those have gone on to be named 3-year-old filly champion later in the year. So Birdtown off to a hot start this season.
Birdtown is finishing the money in all 9 career starts, 5 tracks, 5 different distances. So Birdtown, we're liking this one. Look at the photo now.
Now, of course, this makes Birdtown eligible, of course, winning the Acorn for that $2 million triple tiara. The official margin there looks maybe closer to a head than a nose.
Yeah, this is one that they're so good with this. I don't think they even bothered look right. It was. I mean, you can almost see this.
Durkin called it.
Well, Durkin certainly
but
did.
Zito's not sure he's going to chase the whole triple tiara. We'll have to ask him about that, because the Mother Goose he may pass in favor of the Coaching Club Oaks a little bit later on. It'll be a tough decision to make.
Kisses and hugs and all sorts of money being handed out. Nick Zito's the man here on the day before the Belmont. Edgar Prado up as Birdtown has won the 73rd Acorn. We're coming.
The IRL IndyCar Series races on. Elio Castroneves, Gilda Ferran, and the others will battle at the Texas Motor Speedway for first place at the Texas Indy 200. Sunday on ESPN.
Dive into something different. By Plateau Herbicide from BASF. We make Bermuda grass hay better. And by NTRA.com. Win a trip to the world premiere of Seabiscuit the movie at NTRA.com. Equibase.com, your official online source for racing information from entries to results and everything in between. Equibase.com is a service of Equibase Company, the thoroughbred industry's official database.
Well, the 73rd Acorn here at Belmont is official. Randy and I spent the last 3 or 4 minutes making excuses for Lady Tack, but now Hank can rightfully praise Nick Zito and the jockey Edgar Prado for the run with Birdtown.
All right, first we'll talk with Edgar. Kind of versatile filly that you're riding out there today after the last race where, you know, she's breaking and after almost falling to her knees, and today she goes out and gets a lead.
Well, last time was a nightmare trip from the kid going, but she showed me a lot of courage, a lot of willing to win, and she did it all, you know. I give you all the credit to her. Today, nothing to it. She broke very clear.
Here's the break, Edgar. You can see
she broke very clear, and she put me in the right spot. I tried to slow him down as much as I can, and when I asked her, she responded pretty well. She was very game in the stretch.
Randaroo, of course, was the only one who broke with you. Did that kind of surprise you?
Yeah, I thought it seemed like the 2 other horses with a little bit of speed coming from short distance, but when they don't break that well, and my filly did, so I take advantage of that and try to put in the position that I was able to control the pace, so I was able to do what I wanted from there.
Well, it helps that the trainer had her in good enough condition to withhold Lady Tack's stretch run. Nick, were you getting a little nervous there as they hit the finish line?
Yeah, I was. And Lady Tack obviously is a good filly, and you know, Bailey was all over it. I didn't know, you know, our filly was just digging in